So think back to when you applied for your first job, or maybe it was your application to get into college or university. You likely spent a lot of time on that application, that cover letter, and crafting your resume, because that's the first impression. You've got to do well on those things to be able to get your foot in the door to make it to the interview itself. And you likely spent hours on those things, and if you didn't, I don't know why not, but it's the same exact thing when you are applying for a job as a professional cheerleader. But often we tend to spend a lot of time on everything else, and the pre-work is an afterthought. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why that's a mistake. Hey there, gorgeous souls. How are you? So glad to see you here. Now, before I dive into the content for today's video, I want to remind you to follow us on IG if you're not already doing that, because every single day we are posting updates on the virtual audition process and everything Pro Cheer related. We also are giving tons of information about how to join us for our Pro Cheer Playbook program. We just opened up enrollment, so you don't want to miss out. And we will make sure that you understand and know how to join our Prep to Pro free Facebook group. This is a community of amazing women, all aspiring to be professional cheerleaders, as well as some of our graduates from our Pro Cheer Playbook program, our coaches and everything, helping you along your journey to go pro. Now, in this video, I am going to be talking about the pre-work required for an audition. Now, if you have not checked out videos number 1 and 2, I want you to do that, because this is video number 3 in a 4-part series. In video number 1, I talk specifically about virtual auditions and how to record the best video so that you can make a wonderful first impression through your actual video submission. And then in video 2, I talk about the elements and the tips for the content of that video. So your freestyle, your intro speech, your improv, your dancing, and all of that. So be sure to check out video 1 and 2. And now let's dive into video 3, your pre-work. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you were applying for a job, you would likely spend a lot of time on your application, your cover letter, your resume, and all of that good stuff. And it should be the exact same for your job as a professional cheerleader, but unfortunately, it tends to be an afterthought. I'm not quite sure why, but in this video, I really want to make sure that you understand why it is so important. So in this situation, your application, your cover letter, your resume, and even that picture that you submit could likely be the first impression that you're making with that team. Now, some other ways that could be first impressions as well would be if you're attending prep classes or workshops or any team events where you might actually see the team, see the current ladies or the coaches. So keep that in mind as well. That's another opportunity for you to make an amazing first impression. But when it comes to the actual audition submission process, more so than not, that application and that cover letter, the resume, all of that is going to be the first touch point for the judges in many situations. So why is it so important to spend some time on your pre-work? So first of all, you really want to think about this as a marketing tool. So like I said, a lot of times you're going to submit this before the actual big day of auditions, and you really need to make sure that you utilize this as a marketing tool. It's basically your spokesperson for you, but in the form of paper or online on the screen. Through these tools, you can highlight and show off you. You can show them why you should be selected, at least for the next round, why they should pay attention to you. It's your opportunity to set yourself apart from everyone else, and you can do that through your application, your cover letter, your resume, and your photo. It also gives you the opportunity to show how you are in alignment with and how you fit into the current culture and the environment of that organization. I call it the fitability, and I know that that's not a word, but that's basically what you're able to do. You're able to show them how your desires, your aspirations, who you are as a person, how you would fit right in with who they are as a team. So it's really important that you take some time to craft your responses for the application, and you take your time to craft your cover letter if it's required, as well as your resume. Now, in all honesty, this video could literally be 4 different videos. One on your application, one on your cover letter, one on your resume, and y'all know that I've done tons of videos already on your pictures. So what I'm going to try to do, instead of making this a very long video, I am going to give you some high-level tips that basically will hold true for your application, your cover letter, and your resume, as well as a couple of them will hold true for submitting and picking out your pictures as well. So, if you want a longer, more detailed, extremely thorough explanation of how to fill out that application and craft your resume and all of that, then I encourage you to contact us and sign up for our sideline application training. This training is over an hour long. It goes into so much detail about how to actually fill out your application and your resume. You get tons of templates and resources and tools and all of that. Now, because I love y'all so much, you also have the opportunity to click below and download our resources for this video. Now, the resources that we're gonna give you for this video are 2 sample resumes and 1 sample cover letter. Yes, you're welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the tips for how to make sure that you nail your pre-work and make a wonderful first impression before the day of auditions. Tip number 1, and I know that I say this all the time and I am like a broken record, but you have to do your research. And in this case, I am really talking about that external research. So you really want to make sure that you are, 1, researching the requirement of the team. So what is it that they expect? Do they ask for a resume? Do they ask for a cover letter? What do you have to fill out as it relates to your application? Now, in many cases, you might be doing this research and they may not have posted the current information for this year, but what's wonderful is a lot of teams actually leave all of that information up year round. So you can assume, and of course it may change, but you can make the assumption that what they required the prior year is what they're going to require for this year. So you can go ahead and get a head start on downloading that application and starting to fill it out. You can see whether or not you have to craft a resume and cover letter, and obviously you can get a head start on all of that. The other thing that you want to do is just research on the dance team or the actual sports organization itself. What is the mission, the vision, and the values? Do they support the military, and if so, in what ways? What charities or nonprofits do they support? What are the sponsors that they are linked to and tied to? This is going to give you so much insight as to the culture and the overall environment of the organization. And the reason that you want to know that is so that you can show how, again, you are going to fit right in with that organization, your AKA fit ability. And I'll explain that in a little more detail in just a second. All right, so number 2 is your internal research. And what I mean by this is I really want you to just reflect. So do some self-reflection and say, okay, write down your 3 top professional accomplishments. Then think about your 3 top personal accomplishments, and then the 3 things that make you unique. Now, I talked about this a little bit before when I was going over in video 2 about your interview. These are the things that you want to make sure that come out in your interview, but you also want to make sure that you bring these out on paper as well through your application, your cover letter, and or your resume. So that's why it's really important for you to just self-reflect and say, okay, why am I amazing? What makes me so wonderful? What have I accomplished both professionally or personally or in the dance world? or in the pageant world. Like, what have I done that sets me apart from everyone else? And you really want to make sure that you do this pre-work before your pre-work so that you can answer the questions and add these elements into your responses. So, number 3, super important. I think I've said this in every single video. You have to follow the instructions. So you really want to make sure that whatever it is that they're asking for or not asking for, that you follow those instructions. So in some cases, they may not require a resume. We recommend, if you have the opportunity to still submit one or hand one in, go ahead and do that. However, if they specifically say no resume required, then obviously you don't have to worry about the resume. So you really just want to make sure that you follow the requirements as it relates to the questions on your application, the cover letter or resume, or if they're even required, and most definitely those pictures. So follow instructions. Let's move on to tip number 4. Show alignment with the organization. Now, I mentioned this earlier, and the reason that I wanted you to do the external research of the organization is so that you can see where there are similarities. So for example, let's say that the cheerleaders go on numerous military tours throughout the season and you happen to be an Army brat, or maybe you're active duty and you actually are part of one of the military branches. That is something that you're going to want to make sure that you include within your application cover letter or your resume. So you really want to make sure that you understand all of the components of the organization's culture, what they buy into, who they support, what organizations they are in alignment with and support, so that you can make sure that if you, in all honesty, also have some sort of connection in those different areas, you can showcase those in a very unique way. Now, what I want to do right now is show you a small clip of our sideline application training so that I can explain a little bit more what I mean about showing alignment. So let's take a look. All right, another application tip. Position yourself strategically via your application responses. So what I mean by that is just making sure that through that research, like we mentioned before, that you understand what the team is looking for, and then you figure out a way to show how you fulfill those requirements. Which goes to this next one. You want to tailor your responses to the team. And that's why the research is so important. You want to determine how your skills, your experience, your activities, your education, all of that are in alignment with the organization. And then you want to show that alignment through your responses. Let me give you a really good example. So this is for the flight crew. This is kind of like their mission statement, their purpose statement. The New York Jets flight crew was created in 2007 to enhance the overall fan experience by infusing additional energy and enthusiasm to each home game. Members of the multi-talented, multi-purpose entertainment team are dancers, athletes, and active participants in the Jets community. Whether they are performing a choreographed dance routine or appearing at New York Jets charity events, every member of the New York Jets flight crew is committed to excellence and serving as role models for Jets fans across the globe. Absolutely love this purpose statement. So what does that mean? How do I take this information and use it to my advantage? So let me just give you a couple of examples. So they talk about energy and enthusiasm. So they're looking for someone with personality and with energy and enthusiasm, right? Well, how do you show that through your application process? This is demonstrated by the activities and the events and the associations that you're a part of. Also, your job or your occupation, the wording that you use for your application, and then obviously the pictures that you submit. So your wording can be uplifting and energetic, or it could be dull, okay? Just like your words when you speak them could be the same way. Your pictures, if they focus on energy and enthusiasm, you want to make sure that at least one of the pictures that you turn in shows you with a beautiful smile on your face. Okay, so this is how you would take their mission statement and their purpose statement and figure out a way to show that you are energetic and enthusiastic through the application. Let's look at another example here. So multi-talented, multi-purpose entertainment team. So they're looking for someone that's well-rounded, that's diverse, and that is a multitasker, can get a lot of stuff done and has their hands in a lot of pots. Well, this is demonstrated by, again, the activities, the events, and the associations. If you have multiple jobs that you're currently fulfilling and working at, the number of activities that you're involved in. So how active you are shows you being able to multitask and be multi-talented. And then the diversity within your skills and background as well. So you want to show this through your resume or through your application. Another example, entertainment teams, a dancer, an athlete, that you're able to perform a choreographed dance routine. So here they're looking for entertainers, obviously dancers, that you're fit and you're athletic and that you're a public figure. So this can be obviously demonstrated by all of your experience in dance, cheer, tumbling, fitness, or pageant competitions. If you have experience with public speaking or as a model or an actor, if you have any of that, you want to make sure that you include it on your application. Next up, active participants in the Jets community, appearing at New York Jets charity events, serving as role models. So here they're looking for people that are giving of their time, that are volunteers, that have community involvement and have a sense of social responsibility to the community. So you can show this through any community service activities that you're a part of, if you volunteer, making sure that you list those, any activities, events, or associations that you're a part of, and then even your job or occupation. So if you work for a nonprofit, that right there shows that you have community involvement and social responsibility. So I really just want to make sure that I underscore the advantage of and the importance of doing that research and then tying that research to yourself and showing how you can fulfill that and how you are aligned to what you find out. So in this case, you can show this alignment through obviously your resume, your purpose statement, that objective statement or the about me statement at the top of your resume, and then obviously all of the content within your resume, your responses to the application, and your application picture. So again, that's why these elements in this training is so important, because it really does set the stage of who you are and how you are aligned to the organization. All right, awesome. So the portion that you just saw happens to be obviously about the Jets flight crew dance team. Now that is an older website, but the example still shows true. And I just thought that this illustrated so well how you can take information that you find on their website, on social media, and just use that to your advantage. But of course, you want to make sure that you're being truthful with everything that you say, which will come up in a second. Number 5, you want to stand out. This is not your opportunity to be humble or to stay quiet or shrink to the back. This is your opportunity to stand out. This is your opportunity to brag and to boast about you and who you are and what you can bring to the table. So don't worry about, oh, am I gonna seem cocky or is this gonna come across the wrong way? As long as you are sharing in a very modest way, then that's all that is important. So what are some of the elements that you can use to help you stand out? So first of all, you want to think about what sets you apart. So I know that I mentioned that earlier about really thinking about the top 3 things that set you apart, that make you unique, what your accomplishments are both professionally and personally. And you really want to make sure that you highlight that within your application responses. Also, what are your skills? What skills can you highlight as it relates to dance, cheer, tumbling, tricks? Maybe you are a title holder in the pageants, modeling, or media. What things can you highlight as far as your activities as it relates to the military, community service, awards, and/or honors? And then how can you highlight your college and/or work accomplishments? Maybe you had a very high GPA, or you graduated with honors, or you're a student athlete, or maybe now that you're, in the work world, you have been promoted at a very high rate, or you have been selected to present at different banquets or awards or conferences. Whatever it is that you might think isn't a big deal, likely is. And it likely will set you apart from the person next to you or that application that comes in right after yours or before yours. So this really is your opportunity to share it all, big or small. Just make sure that you really think about what makes you stand out, and then you want to share that within your application, your cover letter, and your resume. All right, let's move on to the next tip. Number 6, you want to make sure that you keep it professional. You want to make sure that everything that you present is presented in a very professional manner, but also represents who you are as a person. And what I'm talking about here is the template that you use for your cover letter, the template that you use for your resume, how you submit your application. A lot of applications now are online, so you literally can just type right into the form, but some applications are still in PDF format. There is a thing called Tool Editor within a PDF where you can type in your responses instead of handwriting them. If you can do that, try to do that. You just want to make sure that the look and feel of everything that you submit comes across very professional and yet creative and represents who you are as a person as well. So again, if you want to download our resources, we're going to give you examples to show you of a very professional resume, and then also one that's a little more creative as well as a cover letter. All right, so you can click the link below to grab those. All right, number 7, I mentioned this before, and I don't even think I need to go into this a lot, but you have to be truthful, okay? So you cannot tell a lie. Period. End of discussion. And I know that we heard this growing up a million times from our parents, but you really just have to be truthful. And even if you feel as though you don't have that dance experience that others likely have, you probably have experience in other areas that other people don't have. So just highlight what you can, include what you can, but you have to be truthful in everything that you write on your resume, because if they ask you in an interview down the road, or they contact references and they ask you for references and they actually contact them, you just want to make sure that everything that you say is on the up and up and it is truthful. All right, tip number 8. English and Grammar 101. So my mom is an English teacher. So I was raised in a household where I was corrected all of the time for grammar. And it's a slight pet peeve of mine because it was a pet peeve of my mom's. So you just want to make sure that as you are typing up your responses for your application, your cover letter, and your resume, that you are taking it back to English class and making sure that you have proper noun-verb agreement, proper punctuation, proper grammar, and all of that. I don't think that I need to explain why this is important. Just make sure that you proofread it and you double check it, triple check it to make sure if my mom were to read it, she'd be okay with it. And she's a hard one, okay? Let's move on to tip number 9. And this flows right in from tip number 8. You wanna make sure that you double and triple check your work. You really wanna make sure that you complete that first draft way ahead of when it's actually due, and then pass it on to someone to review and look it over. Obviously, you want to proofread it, make any adjustments that you need to, and then obviously Sideline Prep is here to help you with that as well. But I can't stress the importance of this enough. Don't wait until it is due the day of to go in and start typing stuff up, especially if it's online, because you don't know how many characters they are going to allow on the actual application itself. If it is a PDF, you need to make sure that you can fit your response within the space that they give you. So it's really important that you do a dry run of your application, especially before you actually have to submit it. What I would love to do now is show you again another portion from our Sideline application training, where I quickly review just a portion of one of our lovely's applications that she was getting ready to submit. So let's take a look. So I just wanted to show you a quick example. Like I said, I always welcome our clients to fill out their draft application and send it to me for feedback. Just as a caveat, this lovely did tell me, I know that my handwriting is horrible. I promise it will look much better when I fill it out and submit it in. So I just wanted to tell you all that. She is aware. So you obviously want to write really neat with this. So here was my feedback for this particular application. So the dance training, it asks how many years of dance training do you have? She says 10 years. Well, my comment was to just give more detail about the 10 years of dance training. 10 years is wonderful that you have that experience, but in what areas of dance do you have that 10 years? What type of dance? What technique do you have? Go ahead and include all of that information. The next question here was about modeling experience. Do you have modeling experience? Well, yes, she does. She participated in pageants. Well, be more specific about your experience with pageants. Which pageants? How far did you get? How many pageants did you participate in? The next question here, do you have experience in public speaking? So she mentioned that she presented at professional development. So my question here was, well, professional development for what? So it says for current high school, but can you give a little bit more information about this? Was it a workshop? Was it a seminar? Just add more details. What type of conferences did you present at? How big was the audience? What was the topic of the presentation? So she mentioned that she presented research at conferences, but just going in a little bit deeper here. So for the high school teacher, obviously we know that this takes a lot of public speaking, but maybe go into that a little bit more as well. Maybe you could say, speak in front of a crowd of 11th and 12th graders every day at school for the past 5 years as a special education teacher. So whatever it is, just go into a little more depth and give them a little more meat. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back and really explain how you shine in these certain areas. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. I know it was kind of short and pretty brief, but again, just shows you how you can take a simple question and just add so much color, so much value, and so much information about you in your response. Okay, so tip number 10. Yay, let's get to it. What do you think it is? You have to submit on time. So again, it is very, very important that you do all of your pre-work ahead of time so that you have the time to proof it, look it over, make sure someone else can look at it so that you can then submit everything on time. Your application for auditions could literally be kicked out simply because it's late. The system may not even accept it after the due date. So that's something to really remember and keep in the back of your mind. You really want to make sure that you submit not just on time, but that you submit early. All right, so those are our top 10 tips around your application, your cover letter, and your resume. So let me briefly talk about the picture, because a lot of times when you submit your application, they're also going to ask you to upload or submit a picture. Now, obviously, we have tons of videos that you can click on right here, all around. So make sure that you look at those videos around taking your best picture. But I just want to remind you that yes, we do recommend that you find a professional photographer to help you with this, because you really want to showcase your best version of you with this picture, because they pull them out during deliberations. They look at those, right, as soon as they get your application. But I know during this stay-at-home time, for those of us that, if you're watching this within kind of the April, May timeframe of 2020, it may not be possible for you to get to a professional photographer, and that is okay. You can submit an amazing picture just by using your cell phone. You can ask a friend, your husband, your boyfriend, your roommate, whatever it is, to go ahead and take a picture for you. You still want to be full hair and makeup. You still want to take a look at the pictures on our IG, or the pictures that I just showed you on the screen of potential angles and attire, poses, and all of that to get an idea. But then you can just use a regular phone camera, right, to take your photos. I would use portrait mode because it just looks better. It's very dimensional and brings more life to the picture. So if you have an iPhone, I would use the portrait mode, but don't stress over this. Do the best that you can with what you have, but you still want to make sure that you put forth some energy and effort in your picture, because normally, I'm telling you, during deliberations and everything, they're pulling those pictures out just to jog their memories as to who number 157 was. Okay, so hopefully these tips helped you. It's really important. I can't say it enough. You really want to make sure that you spend some quality time filling out and completing your pre-work for your application for your audition. All right, that is it for now. As always, please give us a thumbs up if you liked what you heard. Comment below if you have any additional tips for our viewers, or of course, if you have any questions for us, you can include those below as well, and follow us on social media. And be sure to join our Prep to Pro Facebook group as well. All right, that's all for now. I hope you make it a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.